Hello everyone, this is Clarity here, and this is the first episode of Budget Gear Reviews. Today we're gonna talk about the Canon 500D. It's a 15 megapixel APS-C camera, which means it has a crop sensor. It has 9 AF points, one of them is cross-type, and it costs about 150 euros, at least in Budapest, but I think it's a pretty good estimation for the whole European Union. It sits below the 550D and above the 450D, and it's definitely a better camera than the 1000D and the 1100D. It's pretty chunky, of course, but it's average really for DSLR. On the top it has a clicky control dial, which is a nice touch, and a clicky ISO button, which I also like, and a metal main dial, and this is the only Canon camera to feature a metal dial. I like it. I think it's pretty cool. Of course it has a hot shoe on the top. It uses SD cards, which are pretty cheap, and I think they are much better than CF cards for this class of camera. It also has a nice optical viewfinder, a diopter for you. If you have some kind of vision problem, it will compensate for it. As you can see, it has a red spot and a white square, because you can use either EF or EFS Canon lenses with it, of course, because it's a crop sensor camera. As you can see, the screen is pretty dim outdoors, but I think it's usable. Of course, it has a pop-up flash, which is nice. It may come in handy, but I not use it very often. But it uses an electronic mechanism to open, which is, I think it's a nice touch. On the side it has a little rubber thing which covers micro USB and the micro HDMI out. So it can take a little bit faster than 3 FPS burst. Let's take a listen. If you are a sports or wildlife shooter, you maybe want to have a little bit better camera in terms of autofocus, but it's cool for general application. I want you to notice this leather at the back and in the front. It has much more leathery thing than the 450D and the 400D, and I think it's cool. It speaks for the quality very well. It also has a sensor to detect your face when shooting through the optical viewfinder. You can see the screen is alright. It's 3-inch. It has a much better resolution than the predecessors of the camera. Of course, it's not a touch screen, but for the price and for the age of this camera, I think it's good enough. The ISO values go from 100 to 3200. You can also expand it and go all the way up to 12,800. Let's take a look at the ISO performance of the 500D. At ISO 400 you can see there's very little noise, I would definitely use it for anything, including large prints. At 800, noise starts to build up, but it's okay for anything really. Details are nicely preserved. ISO 1600 is the last usable ISO for me to publish work in large resolution or to do really large prints of it, but for social media it's really just fine. At ISO 3200, this Canon sensor really starts to show its age. It's a bit noisy, but for social media and scale down to low resolutions, it will be absolutely fine. At 6400, I think it's the last usable ISO of the camera as a whole. I would use it for social media, but nothing else really. And at 12800, this sensor really starts to fall apart. I would not use it for anything, but of course a picture this noisy is always better than no picture at all, so maybe you can find use for it. Let's take a look at the flexibility of the RAW files. We are at ISO 100 and we will push the image by 2 steps and take a look at the shadows. So the shadow region is much brighter. Also it's noisier, but I think it's really fine. It's actually surprisingly well for this sensor. Canon cameras don't really have better sensor even today, so I think it's just fine. You can push the shadows plus 100 at ISO 100 and they will look fine. The 500D has 9 AF points, only the central one is cross type, the outer ones are not. So if you want really precise focusing even in low light, you should use the central one and then recompose your image. The 500D can record video, and this is the first treble or 3-digit Canon camera to record video. No AF and only 720p. It can record in 1080, but that's only in 20 frames per second, so it will be really choppy. I would not recommend it. In live view, however, you have a nice magnifiable image and also AF, but keep in mind the AF is really bad, it struggles. You can see how much time it takes to the white rectangle to turn into red. At times it not works at all, so I would rather not use it and rather focus it manually if I need. But it's a nice feature to have. Overall, I think the 500D is a great camera for the price. It has a nice 15 megapixel sensor, it records video if 720p is enough for you. The ISO values are okay, the image quality is good, it's really nice and durable for the price. If you have a little bit more money, however, you can buy a 550D, which has a much better sensor and much better video mode, so I think it's really a best buy for used Canon gear right now. And for a little bit less money, you can buy a 550D, which has a much lower resolution screen, a little bit lower resolution sensor, and no video mode, but still I think the 450D is a great camera as well. So thank you guys for watching. If you liked this video, please hit the like button and subscribe for more gear reviews and educational content.